Steve Reed, it's your ambition to reduce sewage spills by half by 2030. That's a pretty low bar to aim for, isn't it? We only swim in sewage Monday to Wednesday.
Up until the election, every year sewage pollution was getting worse and worse and worse. We've turned a corner now. I put in place those building blocks. We've secured £104 billion, the biggest ever investment in our water sector, that we can start to spend.
This is interesting. Now this is more interesting. What you're saying, if I heard you correctly, is that you want to get rid of all sewage in the next 10 years. That's the ambition.
Reed calls a midterm milestone a miracle, but Phillips shows it to be settling for 50% dirt while putting off full clean-up for the next decade. Make sure you like and subscribe.
We've secured £104 billion of private sector investment, the biggest ever investment in our water sector, that will allow us to rebuild that whole system. But the third building block is the water revolution.
£100 billion we're still going to be swimming in sewage.
Well, do you know what? I was at an event last week, a skills summit, where we were looking at how we can develop and train people to carry out the 40,000 new jobs that this will create. That isn't the end of our ambition. Over a decade of national renewal, we will be able to eliminate unauthorised sewage spillages. But you have to have staging posts along the way.
When the interviewer sees that the price tag is much higher than the results, Reed's record investment line drops like a lead pipe.
Through the nose for something just because the water companies and the regulator let it get into such an appalling state.
When you say you want to protect families from massive bill rises in future, are you going to promise to limit increases in bills to inflation?
Well, there's a process and the regulator will be overseeing how that works. But what we can
But you can set the regulator an ambition. You can tell the regulator this is what you need to do.
What happened previously was the previous government allowed water companies to get away with underinvestment in our sewage and water system. That means the pipes crumbled, and anyone that owns a home will know if you see a crack in the wall and you leave it for 10 years, it gets far worse and it costs you more to fix it. That's where we were. That's why we got the big hike in bills.
Phillips begs for a concrete shield for homes, and Reed gives the same watchdog he plans to change. Caught in a lie. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Revolutionise this system, so the failures of the past do not happen again in the future.
Is part of the revolution getting rid of the current regulator, Ofwat?
Well, I've asked Sir John Cunliffe to complete a report, and he's going to tell us tomorrow what his recommendation is. So, like you, we're all on tenterhooks to see what he's going to recommend. I will then respond to what he says.
Let's be grown up here. You know what you're going to do, and I know you're not going to tell me what's in Cunliffe's report, but would you be surprised, disappointed, angry if he said, get rid of Ofwat?
We've had his interim report, so we know that he agrees with the conclusion of, I guess, most of your viewers and me. This system is broken and regulation has failed. So you would exactly what we do to fix regulation.
So you would accept.
I genuinely asked Sir John to come up with his own
recommendations. So if he's recommended it, you'd be minded to accept that regulation, the abolition of Ofwat.
Phillips promises to make big changes from the top down, but he won't say if the core agency will continue. This reveals that the Emperor hasn't read his own plan.
Let's talk about where you're going to get all the money from. Can I just start with one of the ideas that seems to have been floated today? Are you open to the idea of charging more to affluent families in order to take the edge off for less well-off families? Families struggle to pay their bills.
I'd need to be convinced that we need to do more, but there are already schemes in place to support the poorer families who would otherwise struggle to pay their bills. I've not been convinced yet that there needs to be even more of that. My interest is, particularly having seen...
Are you going to say to the regulator, your job continues to be to keep prices down, preferably below the rate of inflation, or are you going to say, reality strikes, we are going to have to charge more so that we make sure that, by the way, after your £100 billion investment, the water companies say they're going to need another 180, 190 billion over the next 10 years to fix the system. Next 20 years, I beg pardon.
Trevor talks about the financing deficit that is coming up, but Reed avoids specifics and gives confidence without costs.
Bills need to be as low as possible. There were companies under the previous, under the current regulatory system that were committing to spend certain amounts of money upgrading their pipes, but then they didn't upgrade them. Yet they found the money to pay bonuses and dividends. Now, that should never have been allowed to happen. If that money had been invested where it should have been invested,
I know the bonus and dividend thing.
The bill hikes.
I know the bonus and dividend thing is nice politically, but let's just let's just halt here. This is to pension funds. It's not to fat capitalists. It's the pension funds who own most of these water companies. So let's put that to one
ownership,
side.
But whoever owns it, they shouldn't get away with failing to upgrade the pipes when they've said they will upgrade the pipes,
well, look,
and have been given a bill rise to allow them to upgrade the pipes. They got away with murder, and they're not going to be doing that with this government.
Phillips's subtlety meets the simple blame game. Reid keeps hitting cartoon baddies.
But it only gets spent. It only gets spent if the planning regime allows it. Do you think that economic growth is being restrained at the moment because of the absence of water? Do you have any idea how many homes are not being built because of water constraints?
Not the exact number, but you pointed to an extremely important problem. I'm aware that development, house building around Cambridge was held back by a lack of clean water, around Oxford in Oxfordshire from a lack of sewerage systems. We need a system that allows us to put in place the water infrastructure for new homes to go ahead. It's not just new homes, it's also business.
The Minister for Infrastructure can't put a number on the problem he says he will tackle. Phillips points out the gap in understanding.
Over development, if it thinks that the plans might affect fragile or rare habitats. Does that mean that we're going to have £100 million bat tunnels all over again?
We're absolutely not going to be having that anymore. What a shocking waste of money that was. It constrained a major infrastructure project, a railway line. But I'm not aware.
But I'm talking about what you're going to do in the future.
Bats.
So you're warning the tree huggers. It's all over now.
Phillips sets up the decision, and Reid responds with the Johnson-style cakeism he previously made fun of, caught by his own words.
A Prime Minister withdrew the whip from just 4 members of Parliament for what has been described as persistent rebellion. I won't use the phrase that's being knocking around. But there are others who've rebelled many more times than, for example, Rachel Maskell, and they haven't been punished. This looks a bit spiteful because she beat you on the welfare reform bill. She's rebelled as far as we can make out once on this issue.
Nobody managing a team can let one player just go off and play to their own separate strategy. But the team will never win if you do that, Trevor.
She's not a serial rebel. And he says she helped him get to the right balance, and her reward is to have the whip withdrawn.
It's not about one incident. It is about the team. We campaigned as a team, we won as a team, we're going to govern as a team. If people think they're more important than the team, they need to think again. OK, so who else is going to get spanked now? Well,
because presumably there are several other MPs. There are other MPs who've done the same. In fact, by my reckoning, there are several other MPs who have rebelled many more times. I mean, you know the names.
The discipline story turns into an arbitrary purging, and Phillips reveals that the unity line hides selective silencing.
I'm going to come to that.
Clean up our rivers.
I'm going to come to that, but I still want to ask you about your ambition. You want to reduce that awful picture by half. It really isn't that ambitious, is it?
No, Trevor.
Except by comparison with a century and a half of neglect.
But we'll find out tomorrow. As I said to you right at the beginning of this interview, we've got building blocks in place to turn this system upside down because it's let down everyone, customers, the environment and investors. We're going to reset it from top to bottom so the water sector of the future will be a success story for this country.
All right, look, the issue that you have to deal with isn't just about cleanliness of the water. It's also how we manage these utilities to support economic growth.
Trevor Phillips painstakingly reveals soft targets, imprecise calculations, and half-sketched revolutions. Steve Reid's talking points fall apart when asked direct questions. Let us know what you think down below in the comments.